Well, hello, I'm Alex, and today I've got a quick and easy creativity warm-up for you. Use this to give your brain a little reset, to try something new or different, or just to get out of a funk. You know how I'm always saying how simple it is to spend a few minutes a day in creative play? Well, I'm sure a lot of you are like, "Oh, that's easy for you to say, you're an artist." So, I'm making these videos for you to take tiny play breaks with me. This is your creativity timeout, baby. Just jump in and mess around with whatever supplies you've got on hand. No worries, I'm keeping this no fuss fabulous, easy peasy. Go ahead, check it out. Okay, today we're going to do more mark making, but we're going to experiment. And that's why today's a little bit different, because I'm going to introduce some materials that I don't usually use, because I try to keep it so simple that you could just do pretty much anything with a pen or a pencil or some old markers, right? You'll see me always using old markers. But today I do want to talk about mark making in a little more experimental way, and I tried to pick a few things that you might have. So very quickly, supplies: some alcohol, antiseptic alcohol, a spoon or a dropper or a little cup. It could just be a teacup. I have another teacup here, and I poured coffee in the bottom of it. You'll see why in a second. I have some ink for stamp pads, which I love to use because it dries super quickly and it's very liquidy. I have an old toothbrush that I keep under the sink for cleaning stuff, and I have these two sticks. So this is paint in stick form, but you don't have to have this. I just find it super practical. It's tempera paint, or what's called gouache paint. And if you just had some, so tempera paint is what they sell for kids to play with, because it's water soluble and really easy to clean. So if you want to use the fancy word, you'd say gouache, and you can buy gouache in tubes, just like watercolors. The difference being that gouache is more opaque and that gouache comes in white. A lot of times people use the white gouache with their watercolors. The other name for it is tempera, and I just happen to have it in stick form, which I love, which is easy for mark making specifically. If you don't have it in stick form, a little tube of tempera paint, super inexpensive, that they sell for kids to use for finger painting. So use your finger instead of a stick. Your finger is the perfect tool for mark making. All right, what are we doing? Well, if you saw the first video, it's all about filling your page. Like, we did a grid, and we just filled each grid with different ways of making marks by using the same tool the whole time, which was a marker with a chisel tip. Today I'm not going to put a grid, I'm just going to fill it, and I have more paper here that I can grab. So we're just going to start. So using your finger or using one of these sticks, this is a great way to make marks, right? If you have more than one color, you can go back in and see what happens. This takes a second to dry, so I'm going to let it dry. Using ink. Well, you know what? Before I do the ink, I'm going to do the coffee. So I've never actually tried this, but I thought this was hilarious, because if you're taking your little creativity timeout at work, you might just have a coffee cup, and you might just be able to spill what's left of the cup into your saucer and see if you can make marks with it. This too will take a second to dry, and it's very light. I thought it might be darker. It'll dry darker. So let me just do one more here, like that. So that was fun, right? So easy. I know you can do this talk about accessible supplies. Another thing I want to do is use a Sharpie to make marks, and then I'm going to play with the alcohol. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare the alcohol. You can use a spoon or a dropper, but this is a little plastic cup, and I'm going to use a dropper. I'm going to go ahead and fill the dropper with alcohol. There we go. Got it here ready to go. Alcohol also dries super quickly. It evaporates very quickly, which is good for this. So I'm just gonna make a bunch of marks. And now let's see. Oof, I forgot this has 2 tips. Now let's see what happens when I pour alcohol on that. It's going crazy. So that's a really fun way to make marks. What's funny about this is the alcohol will go straight through the paper, and if you have more paper, you'll get some really interesting effects. I didn't think about that, and it's going straight to my table. I'm actually gonna grab. So the best way to clean up Sharpie is with alcohol, because Sharpie is an alcohol-based marker. So sorry, Houston, we had a problem. I didn't want to stain my table. Might be too late. Okay, next, the ink for stamp pads. What happens if we just do some splats? And then we take an old toothbrush and we just, and you see it went into the coffee, which is kind of funny. So that too is mark making. Let's see, I never set the timer. Ugh. Okay, more ideas would be if you have, well, if you let this dry, you guess that this is dry. Yeah, that looks dry. So now I could go in and doodle on top. No problem. Another way of adding marks and layers. And should we do another experiment with alcohol? Let me go like this and do something here. What happens if I like do this shape? Something with circles and lines. What happens if I get alcohol on that and I try to drop it in the center? Can we watch it expand? You can even blow on it. So I've sort of pushed it out by blowing on it. And just see what happens as it spreads around and around. Okay, I'm gonna stick to the supplies I have and just fill this whole page with the supplies I have instead of grabbing more supplies. I will grab a little paper here to absorb what's left of that. How are we doing? See, check it out. Look how everything is crazy. Okay. This is really interesting here. I'm going to save that. Alright, so there you go. Mark making with whatever you have on hand, whether that's a coffee cup and coffee, tea, or something else that will leave a little circle. Using finger paints and your fingers, using a Sharpie and alcohol, or using water-soluble like colored pencils and adding water, or let's see what else, There's also markers and crayons that are water soluble, so you would be putting down the marks with those and then adding water on top or rubbing on them. I mean, it's really endless what you could do to experiment with some simple supplies. And then I would just mention one more thing, that the bigger your paper and the further away you can distance yourself from it to make the marks, the more experimental you get. So imagine you have this huge piece of paper on the floor, or maybe it's a bunch of papers you've taped together. It's a surface, it's really big. And now you've attached a paintbrush to a stick with some tape, and you've got, you know, like a Tupperware container or something where you've got some diluted paint in there. And all you have to do is dip your brush and make marks. And you have so little control because of the distance, the mark making turns into just a total experiment, and that's where some really cool stuff happens. So I encourage you to experiment and yeah, have fun making marks. Okay, I hope you had fun taking this tiny play break with me. Be honest, it was super easy. Because you know what? When it comes to your creativity, it's never about what you're making. It's about how you feel while making it, right? I've got lots more videos for you here on my YouTube channel, so subscribe, stay tuned, and play, play, play. Come back and gift yourself a daily dose of make stuff feel good energy. Thank you so much for being here. Sparkle on.